Welcome to True Crime Cases. Today, we are unveiling a shocking story where the most startling and puzzling crimes are examined. Today, we bring you to Leavenworth, Kansas, a conservative town that appears to be calm. But the hidden existence of one woman resulted in a grisly murder that devastated the whole. The story of Amara, a loyal housewife, and her secret affair had the community in stitches. Amara was 32 when her relationship with a neighbor's adolescent daughter ended tragically and violently. Years old and the epitome of the ideal Midwestern housewife, she resided in a peaceful. Her life appeared to be in a conservative area with a tight-knit community. 3 lively triplets, Carlin, a loving husband, and a lovely home that looks like something from a family sitcom. Amara was actively involved in the community, particularly at her children's. From PT meetings to cookie sales, Deanna volunteered at every school function. She was also involved in food drives and fundraisers for families in need are frequently organized by the local charity CHAR. Her kind disposition made her a well-liked neighbor to the outer world. Amara appeared to have it all. Her husband, Cooper Amara, was a prosperous corporate attorney, renowned for his efforts in assisting large retailers in identifying legal gaps so they may build their outlets in. The family frequently visited Union Lutheran of Leavenworth, where Amara was a member, in third world nations. Led a women's Bible study group, they were the type of family you'd anticipate seeing on. Amara appeared to be happy and picture-perfect in her Christmas card, but she was actually having difficulties. Over the years, Cooper's demanding profession kept him away from his wife, and their marriage had become chilly and aloof. Home for weeks at a time, and during his stay there, he was frequently busy with the couples. Amara felt alone and sexually dissatisfied when their once strong relationship eroded. Started to want for something exciting to break up the routine of her daily existence. In the early 2018, Amara discovered that thrill in a very surprising place. Her neighbor Sarah, who was 18. What began as a cordial mentoring relationship with Amara taught Sarah how to, quote, behave like. Their relationship swiftly deteriorated from being a decent Christian woman to something far worse. Into a covert sexual relationship with Amara, being more and more fixated on the young lady she was. Fascinated by Sarah's youthfulness and vitality, which she thought she had lost over the years. Became Diana's means of escape, and a means of addressing the vacuum left by her failing marriage in the days before. Amara's behavior grew increasingly unpredictable before she passed away. She stopped participating in her regular activities and became increasingly possessive of Sarah. Her loved ones could see that something was really off, but nobody could have foreseen the awful event that would occur on September morning. After a hard night on the 5th, 2018, Cooper Amara entered his houses in Leavenworth, Kansas. Workplace, soon after 8 in the morning, and the sunlight was already radiating through the windows. The home was unusually quiet, considering that all 3 of his children, Carlin Castle and Kingley, were there. Cooper anticipated finding his wife Amara busy when they were typically awake and getting ready for school. About preparing breakfast in the kitchen, but when he arrived, it was deserted. He yelled out for Amara. However, there was no response. And as he made his way upstairs to their bedroom, a feeling of worry started to creep in. Cooper was pulling the bedroom door open when he saw it was slightly jarred. Amara was laying on the floor beside their bed when he saw the image that would haunt him for the rest of his life. She had been shot to death, and the room was in ruins, with her nude and a pool of blood surrounding her head. The furniture was overturned, the bed was not made, and there were glass fragments all over the floor. It was evident that there had been a serious altercation, and Cooper remained motionless for a while, his thoughts battling to take in what he was witnessing, and then panic struck. He hurried to Dean's side in a desperate attempt to rouse him up. But when Cooper realized she was gone, it was too late, so he picked up his phone and rang 911. Cooper's 911 call was frantic, and he was shivering as he attempted to describe what had happened to the operator. He told the operator that his wife had been shot, his voice hardly controlled. Cooper was obviously shocked when the operator attempted to calm him down, since she wasn't breathing. When the police came a little while later, they discovered Cooper seated on the floor beside Deanna's body. His eyes were big, and his face was pallid as he was led outside and put in a police vehicle. After police arrived on the site, word of Amara's passing swiftly circulated among the nearby neighbors, who had seen the disturbance, started congregating outside the Amara residence and speaking to one another as they, in an attempt to make sense of what had transpired. Local news outlets such as KCTV quickly appeared, cameras shooting on the scene as they provided live coverage from the peaceful suburban street that had abruptly became the focus of the Linworth Police Department's grisly murder investigation. Arrived to the Amara residence shortly after Cooper's September 5, 2018, 911 call. Vinsky, a 15-year veteran with a reputation for being composed, arrived first and swiftly. After assessing the situation and requesting backup, cops quickly crowded the quiet suburban street. Cars with red and blue lights darting through the quiet. Detective Algie in the early morning, a thorough investigator known for resolving complex problems, was tasked with oversee the investigation. When the cops arrived at the house, they discovered a chaotic crime scene. The bedroom was completely disorganized, with the mattress askew in several parts, the bed unmade, and the broken glass on the floor and the knocked-over furniture indicated a battle had. Amara was shot in the head, and her lifeless corpse was found on the floor by the bed. Blood had been drawn around her as the apparent cause of death, deeply discoloring the beige carpet. Using a trained eye, Red Detective Wandel examined the scene and noted Amara's body and the surrounding items while mentally recording all that happened. The scenario conveyed a sense of despair and violence, as seen by the bruises on Deanna's arms and legs, which revealed traces of a fight. According to the room state, Amara had put up a fierce fight against her assailant, who was carrying a murder weapon. When a little pistol was discovered on the ground next to Deanna's body, it was promptly taken as evidence. The glass fragments and a number of other objects from the room, forensic experts in white, systematically moving through the bedroom in coveralls, checking for fingerprints, and collecting samples of the bloodstains. They took pictures of the whole area, recording every detail that may. Cooper Amara, who was still in a state hospital, was interrogated by outside Officer Pinsky as part of the inquiry. Of shock, Cooper revealed that when he got home from work early that morning, he discovered Amara's body. As the interrogation went on in the morning, he maintained that he had no clue who may have done this to his wife. Continuing, Cooper's responses were halting and rambling, expressing his sadness and incredulity. Understanding Cooper's emotional condition, but also understanding that time was of the importance. She was determined to collect as much evidence as she could in the crucial 48 hours following a homicide. The inquiry was barely getting started before any clues were lost, but the scene at the Amara residence had already given the investigators a number of hints that would direct them in their hunt for Deans. The initial suspect in the case, 18-year-old neighbor and murderer Sarah, was well known in the Linworth, Kansas area. She was a bright, self-reliant young lady about to graduate. Sarah was well liked by her friends at Leaworth High School that month and was well known for her rebellious. Living in a community where traditional beliefs frequently governed her behavior, she had just gained acceptance to pursue a degree in environmental science at the University of Texas in Austin. A love she had grown to have while working as a volunteer at the neighborhood animal shelter, engaging in climate change demonstrations in spite of her vivacious outward Cassie's sexual relationship. What started out as a mentoring swiftly turned into a tumultuous relationship with Amara. Hidden, intense affair that made Sarah feel more and more confined. Amara, who at first pretended to be a person who helped Sarah navigate their community standards, quickly turned into a possessive. Sarah's dominating spouse frequently asks her to try things much beyond of her comfort zone. Friends saw a shift in her conduct. She avoided social gatherings and became more reclusive, and missing out on her regular hangouts, such as the neighborhood Starbucks, where she and her pals would frequently. When Sarah was brought in for interrogation by Detective Olga Wandel and her squad, the investigators were especially curious about her sexual relationship with Amara, since they were aware of Amara's Possessiveness could have been the driving force behind Sarah's murderous response during. She seemed anxious during the inquiry, avoiding eye contact and fidgeting with her hands. When the investigator asked Sarah about her connection with Deanna initially, Sarah was hesitant to answer several questions, but as they went on, she acknowledged that Sarah had recently been resentful of her and Amara's love relationship. Explained how, in the weeks preceding her death, Diana had grown more unpredictable. She talked about how Diana would frequently phone her at any time of day and insist that she drop. Sarah also disclosed that Deanna had threatened to reveal everything in order to have sex with her. These threats have caused Sarah a lot of pain if she had attempted to leave their relationship. Of stress, and Amara's incessant need for control had begun to suffocate her when she was asked. Sarah stated that she was studying at a friend's residence the night of the murder. The investigators took note of her alibi for the final examinations, but they were still dubious because of the stress and her connection to Amara. Sarah's anxious manner throughout the questioning only intensified their concerns. The investigator asked her for further information, but Sarah insisted that despite her claims, Sarah's innocence suggested that she was not involved in Amara's death. She was a prominent suspect due to her relationship with the victim and the tense nature of their relationship. The investigators understood they had to delve more into Sarah's tale in order to the next individual being investigated to either confirm or rule out her involvement in the crime was Amara's 36-year-old husband. Cooper Amara is a corporate attorney who focuses in assisting retail. In third-world nations, businesses exploit legal loopholes to steal people's land in order to build stores. Cooper, a hard job that required him to travel frequently and work long hours away from home. In the tight-knit town of Linworth, he was well known for his court appearances and business meetings. For both his career accomplishments and, in contrast to Amara, his cold and distant manner, who actively participated in the community, Cooper remained to himself, concentrating on his work. Amara was left in charge of running their house and raising their 3 kids, Carlin, Castle, and Kingley. Diana and Cooper were previously seen to be the ideal pair, but their relationship had been tense for a while. Over the years, the couple had grown apart, and their friends and neighbors noted that they were no longer attending the same activities together, and when they did, Amara had revealed that there was a clear conflict between them. She had conveyed to a few close acquaintances that she felt abandoned and alone in her sexless marriage. How she felt more like a single parent than a partner in their relationship because of Cooper's frequent absences. Cooper claimed to have been working overnight the night of Amara's death. He informed the detectives at his downtown Kansas City office that he had not observed anything out of the ordinary. Detective Al, the next morning, upon his return home, he discovered Amara's deceased corpse. Wanda and her group were curious about Cooper's alibi and how he responded to discovering his wife dead. Asked him a lot of questions to see if his sadness was real or if it was a cover-up. Cooper remained collected and controlled during the interview, and Ed responded to inquiries in a methodical manner. He conveyed his profound grief for Amara's passing in a tone, yet there was a detached quality to his manner that he acknowledged that he and Amara had been experiencing marital issues, which the investigators found worrisome, but maintained that he would never have hurt her and that he still loved her, but the police were unable to disregard the likelihood that Deanna's romance with their neighbor's daughter and Cooper's strained marital. When asked where he was on the day of the murder, Sarah could have given a reason for the crime. Cooper insisted that he had been at work the night of the murder, displaying time-stamped emails with phone logs as evidence, but even though his alibi appeared to be credible, the investigators weren't totally persuaded. They pointed out that Cooper had the resources and expertise from his line of work to maybe cover his evidence that he was complicit in the crime. Despite his composed manner, Cooper's tense marriage, and he remained firmly in the focus of the inquiry because of the coldness in his relationship with Deanna. As they continued to piece him together, the investigators understood they needed to watch him closely. Destiny was the third suspect in the inquiry into the circumstances surrounding Amara's death. Destiny, the 42-year-old single mother of Sarah, put in a lot of overtime as a stripper. She was well known in Topa, close to the state capitol building, for her commitment to. Despite her busy schedule, she frequently works multiple shifts to support Sarah and make ends meet. Itinerary Destiny was known as a powerful, no-nonsense lady who genuinely cared. Amara and her daughter Destiny have been friends for a number of years. Was first based on common experiences as housewives and moms, but with time, Destiny started to see behavioral shifts in her daughter Sarah, who had grown more reclusive, and her. When Destiny's intimate bond with her mother appeared to be eroding, she had a suspicion that something was occurring between Amara and Sarah, but she was unaware of it till a few days prior to Amara's death. After they got into a furious disagreement in Dee's driveway, Destiny approached Amara about her worries. Destiny felt protective of Amara when she insisted that she cease having sex with her daughter. She disliked the thought of her daughter becoming engaged in something that may hurt her, Sarah. Both ladies were upset after the altercation, and Destiny left the meeting feeling uneasy when Detective Algawand and her crew knew about the argument and hauled Destiny in for interrogation. The investigators questioned Destiny about her connection with Amara and the reasons behind it. Confronting her, Destiny, who was normally calm, displayed symptoms of tension while being questioned. She acknowledged that she and Thina had a disagreement, but she denied any involvement in her passing. Highlighted her worry for Sarah's welfare and her want to keep her daughters safe. The investigators questioned Destiny about her whereabouts on the night of the murder to keep her safe. According to Destiny, she had been working a night shift and had left work shortly before midnight. Supplied time-stamped documents to back up her alibi, but the police were unable to forget how heated her confrontation with Amara had been and how close they lived. Destiny's protective demeanor and her close proximity to the Amara residence kept her at the crime scene. On the detectives' radar, they kept digging into her participation in order to find any potential connection between the incidents that resulted in Amara's death and her disagreement with Amara while the investigators understood they couldn't rule Destiny out just yet, since she insisted on her innocence. Destiny's involvement in the case remained crucial, and the inquiry into Diana's death was far from over. Piece of the puzzle on September 12, 2018, when the summer heat above Lenworth started to subside. At approximately 10 in the morning, Kansas, a breakthrough in the investigation was made. When a detective, a technician from the nearby electronics repair business, TechFix, called Algawand. The technician on Main Street had been repairing a broken home security system that was brought in by. When a consumer discovered something strange, he discovered many hidden video files saved within the systems. These files in particular included video that had been shot at the Amara residences. When the technician discovered Amara's body in the master bedroom, the importance of what he had found, he called the police investigator right away. Wandel and her group got to TechFix almost away to examine the films that were dated across the months preceding the murder. The recordings supplied grim evidence. However, what was more unsettling was that Amara was having sex with Sarah. It was discovered that Amara had been covertly recording their sex, most likely without. In addition to confirming the illicit affair, Sarah's knowledge of the films demonstrated the growing. One of the last recordings, taken just days before the murder, shows tension between Amara and Sarah. He was heard saying that if Sarah attempted to leave her, he would reveal their connection. The video showed a sexual relationship that had deteriorated, with Amara becoming more. This fresh proof marked a turning point in Sarah's possessiveness and growing dread. Detectives discovered during the inquiry that Amara's murder was more than just a crime of passion. Was the terrible outcome of a romance that had gotten out of hand. The video also gave important information about Sarah's mental state before to the murder, indicating that she, with this fresh evidence in hand, the detective wand and her actions may have been motivated by fear and desperation. Crew went back to the Amara residence to look for the covert cameras that had recorded the video. They discovered a number of tiny, discrete devices scattered about the bedroom, which further validated DNA's part in filming the films. This revelation dramatically changed the course of the. With a better grasp of the dynamics at work, the detectives started their investigation. Concentrating more on Sarah's role, which will get them closer to the reality of what transpired. As the inquiry came to a head on the night of Ammar's passing, all eyes were. The investigators were given information about Sarah via the concealed video that was found in Amra House. Detective Alga Wand on September 14, 2018, with crucial evidence that directly linked her, and her team ultimately decided they had enough to arrest Sarah, who was only 18 years old. Previously full of promise, this popular high school senior was well known for her gregarious demeanor. Academic accomplishments. Sarah was the type of girl who appeared to have it all, but only in private. She and Ammar were ensnared in a sexually abusive and covert relationship that had gotten out of hand. Sarah's formerly promising future had waned due to Ammar's. The conflict between possessiveness and domineering manipulation on the night of Ammar's murder. When the two reached a breaking point, Ammar was seen in the covert video threatening to divulge. She had recorded their sexual encounter as a sex tap, so if Sarah ever attempted to break up with her, that was the last straw for Sarah, who was in a panic and felt trapped and afraid. Sarah took the rifle from Deanna's bedside table out of desperation and rushed to the crime site with his. Broken glass and toppled furniture revealed the tale of a bloody conflict that had culminated in, at 8 o'clock, tragic Detective Wandel, who was now sure in her case, proceeded swiftly. September 19. Sarah was sitting on the couch in the main room with her when the cops arrived at the Sarah residence. The cops gently explained the circumstances to Mother Destiny and arrested Sarah for the. Sarah was clearly upset by the death of Deanna Ammar, but she didn't fight back. Instead, she appeared almost relieved. Destiny, on the other hand, was shocked that her secret was finally being revealed. She had never notioned that her daughter had been in such a risky relationship, as well as the fact that she was rendered speechless by the arrest, which rocked the neighborhood and her family. The news Cooper received saddened her, especially her husband and their 3 kids. He had a feeling that something was off in his marriage, but he never thought it would turn out this way. The Ammar family, which was previously thought to be the pinnacle of suburban affluence, was horribly destroyed in the days that followed. Further information regarding Ammar's unhealthy sexual connection with. When Sarah came to light, the community saw a complicated picture of emotional abuse and desperation, which at first thought Sarah was a bright young lady, started to interpret her behavior via a new perspective that considered the psychological suffering. Sarah's arrest signaled the start of a drawn-out legal procedure that would need everyone involved to face the sinister realities that had been concealed under their ostensibly flawless lives. Sarah trial started in late November 2019, drawing the interest of the courtroom was crowded with excited spectators and members of the media from the whole Leavenworth, Kansas community. To observe the course of the case, the prosecution, headed by 50-year-old District Attorney Brian Chung, an experienced attorney known for being fair but firm, claimed that Sarah had committed. Chung's cold-blooded murder depicted Sarah as a cunning young lady who, when threatened with losing control of her covert relationship with Ammar, decided to take Ammar's life rather than deal with the fallout from Sarah's defense. Lisa Martell, a 38-year-old lawyer who was well known for her fervent support of youthful clients, took. Using a different strategy, Martell claimed that Sarah was a victim of Ammar's psychological and emotional abuse. Manipulation. She provided proof from the unreleased tapes demonstrating how Deanna had become more driven Sarah to the verge of despair by coercing and threatening her, Martell said. Despite being terrible, Sarah's acts were motivated by extreme dread and a sense of helplessness. Asked the jury to take into account the suffering Sarah had gone through in the months before. The trial for the murder was extremely taxing, particularly for Deanna's family, who were seated in the courtroom daily, hearing the specifics of Ammar's covert existence and the incidents that caused her death. Cooper Ammar was particularly disturbed to hear testimonies of his wife's affair and the deceptive actions she had taken against Sarah and the triplets. Young people too young to comprehend the proceedings were excluded from the trial for the rest of their lives. After days of testimony and deliberations, the jury was altered by the death of their mother. Sarah was found guilty on November 29, 2018, of manslaughter rather than murder. The evidence of Sarah's psychological state and Amar's manipulation swayed the jury, decided to convict her on a lesser offense, and Sarah was given a 10-year jail term with the family's reactions to the punishment, which included the chance of release after 5 years, were conflicting. Trying to make amends with the lady they knew about the secret was too easy of a punishment. Life that ultimately resulted in her demise, while others in the community show sympathy for Sarah by acknowledging the challenging conditions that led her to perpetrate the crime at the end of the trial, caused many people in Lenworth to consider the difficulties that may be concealed behind closed doors, the terrible effects they may have on everyone's life following the trial. Sarah started serving her term in a penitentiary facility after the events were significantly altered. Her life had taken a fatal turn at the age of 18 at a facility in Lenworth, Kansas, not far from her home. Sarah entered educational and counseling programs while incarcerated in an effort to repair her life from the wreckage of what had been her once promising and bright future. Now seems too uncertain as she dealt with the fallout from her actions. Amara family found it difficult to recuperate from the catastrophe that had ripped their lives apart. Cooper Amara, who was once the discovery, made it impossible for a prominent corporate lawyer to resume his powerful career. He was devastated by the events surrounding his wife's death and her covert affair. Decided to take a leave of absence from his work in order to devote more time to parenting his kids, Carlin, Kingley, and Castle. But the triplets, who were just 9 years old, had lost their mother in the most terrible. Cooper tried his best to keep them informed on the case's specifics, but the emotional wounds were still there. As a longtime worker, Destiny Sarah's mother likewise had to overcome adversity. Destiny felt guilty about not being able to support her kid and wondered how she could have missed it. She continued to assist Cassidy during her incarceration, despite indications of her daughter's misery. Campaigning for her early release and paying her frequent visits, the community was once close-knit, and conservative were shocked by what had happened in their peaceful area, Amara. The trial that followed Amara's death served as a warning, a reminder that even at the most, dark secrets may be hiding beneath the surface of apparently ideal neighborhoods. Friends. Even the neighbors who had previously praised the Amara family began to reflect on their own lives with doubt. As life in Lenworth gradually returned to normal, what may be concealed behind their own closed doors is revealed. Amara's tragic death and the trial that followed will always be remembered as a somber reminder of the unseen suffering and desperation that can have unthinkable repercussions.